we help businesses, CEOs of companies to institute happiness practices in the workplace. We also give happiness workshops on university campuses, and we train and certify happiness coaches to do the much job that is needed in promoting happiness. That's what we do. I'm a professor of medicine, and let me put on the first slide here. Yeah. Can you see that slide, please?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I want to give you the first truism. I have two truisms for you. The first one is that some of us are born in the winter. I'm a professor of medicine, by the way, and I practice obstetrics all these years, along with the research I was doing on hope and happiness. Some of us are born in the winter, some are born in summer, some are born in the farm, on the roadside, inside the car, or in a very well-equipped hospital. However, when we all come, we are all born unhappy. Every baby that is born is showing some displeasure. There's no question about that. I've delivered over 4,000 babies, and each one of them, everyone was showing displeasure at birth. The second truism is that we all do different things. Nurses, attorneys, engineers, doctors, ballerinas, we all do different things, and we all have different ethnic groups. However, one thing we all have in common is that we are all in pursuit of happiness. And addiction, when you think about it, is a perverted way of seeking happiness. And addiction is a compelling or uncontrollable engagement in a gratifying act despite adverse consequences. Gratifying act, that's happiness seeking act. So the topic of today, as you know, is the mathematics of happiness. This is based on 30 years of research that I have been doing almost all my professional life. And I have just 15 to 20 minutes to present it to you, so I'm going to be fast. And at the end, hopefully, if there are questions, I'll be able to answer them for you. Now, mathematics is actually the study of relationships. Contrary to the popular notion that mathematics is just about numbers and quantifications, it is actually the study of relationships. When that relationship is between numbers, like 8/2 equals 4, we call that arithmetic. We call that arithmetic. When it is about shapes and structures and space, we call that geometry. When it's about angles and triangles and planes, we call that trigonometry. So I did the mathematics of happiness because I was studying for a long time the relationship between hope, hunger, and happiness. And this is what we call the triple H equation. Now, what is happiness? Happiness is a feeling of joy, of delight, fulfillment, contentment. And it has triggers. There are things that trigger happiness in our lives, as we will see. Hope is the feeling that what is desired is also possible, or that your aspirations are achievable. And where does hope come from? We will find out. And hunger, how many hungers do we have? What kinds of hungers do we have as humans? And where do hungers come from? And hunger, as we define it, is a compelling desire. A compelling desire. So now let's go to decode and deconstruct this equation a little bit further. Happiness, there are 5 triggers of happiness, as you see. Achievement, when you have personal achievement, it triggers happiness. Advancement in personal relationship, like being engaged to be married or being married or having your first child, that triggers happiness. Increase in income or material possession. When you get a raise at work or you buy a new home, that triggers happiness. Acquired new knowledge, new skill. You remember the first time you learned to ride a bicycle, how proud you were. When you got your license, when you knew how to drive a car without your parents sitting beside you, when you learned to fly a plane, and also any pleasant spiritual experience. I remember my granddaughters when they got their first communion, how happy they were. So, and hope, where does hope come from? Hope comes from you and your assets, your ego strength and virtuous attributes, which we call your intrinsic assets. The love, empathy, understanding, and assistance you have from family and friends. We call that your human family assets. Also, you have economic assets, educational assets, and spiritual assets. This is where your hope comes from. Now, what about hunger? I told you hunger is a compelling desire. Now, we have many desires, but the 5 most compelling hungers that we have are inborn. Okay, they are not acquired. We are born with them. Hunger for inclusion and acknowledgement, hunger for intimacy and trusted companionship, hunger for food and comfort, and hunger for answers and information. And as you know, right from childhood, we want to be acknowledged. We want to be included. Daddy, let me help. And they won't play with me. Look at me, Daddy, see how well I'm doing. And we have hunger for food and comfort, for trusted companionship, hunger for answers and information. You see how we all ask questions. We want to know more. So, and a part of our research, we have a way of measuring your hope scale, personal instant self-assessment of hope. That's the PISA hope scale. So hope scale, your hope score can be measured. Your hunger score can also be measured by the instruments that we have. And from your scores, it can place you in one of 3 positions. You can be a zone A person, or a zone B person, or a zone C person. Zone A people have high hope. They have a high hope score. They have a high hope score, and they have a low hunger score. So that places them there. Now, that is where most of us would like to be. We want to be very happy. Now, over here, these are people with their hope score is low. They have low hope score, and they have a very high and overwhelming hunger. So most of us are in the middle section here, the zone B people. People who have addictions, most of them we find here in the zone C. But this is where we all would like to be. Now, from your score and where you are, we can put you on a happiness map. You can be zone C here, or zone B, or zone A. This is the best place to be. This is the optimum place to be, the alpha point, where you have a hope score of 48, and a hunger score of 6 versus delta point here, when you have a hunger score of 48 and a hope score of only 6. So we have instruments that you can use to assess yourself. And if you are working with a happiness coach, the happiness coach can use it to assess you. So the importance of the mathematics of happiness is that it tells us, it gives us the recipe for happiness. If you look at the Triple H equation, we see here where happiness comes from. If you have high hope and well mitigated hunger, you are happy. So that tells you the recipe for happiness. If there were time, we can go into more of this. However, when you look at hope, hunger, and happiness, there are 5 cardinal issues. As you remember from the triggers of happiness, the sources of hope, and the inborn hungers, 5 cardinal issues stick out. Self, the role of self, the relevance of others who are around you, the importance of resources, the power of knowledge, and the importance of spirituality. So we have what we call SORKS analysis, where we deal with the self, others, resources, and have to shape your attitude towards these 5 cardinal points. We did this on a university campus where the happiness coaching was included into orientation of freshmen in college on the campus. And as a part of academic advisement, happiness coaching was included. So, you know, the university campus is a very interesting place because it has, it's a place populated by 18 to 24-year-olds. These are people with the highest incidence of suicide. And they have, they are away from home and parents and friends. They are struggling to fit in socially. They are deciding on a major and future career. And so they have a lot of issues. And they are a vulnerable population. So we use them to, the freshmen were oriented, and happiness coaching was instituted. And it was used to even advise them on their career, the best reason to choose the major, and how that major has to be very relevant to your passion, how it has to help other people, resources, and spirituality. So we gave them, each student, a routine to do every day. After they did it for 4 to 6 weeks, we tested them again. And there were students who were scoring in this area of the happiness, who were in this area of happiness map. After just 4 to 6 weeks of using the routine that we gave to them, they were all around here. And so there is improvement. And I don't want you to think that happiness is just feeling good. There's more to it than that. Happy people have better blood pressure readings. They have stronger immune response, fewer cardiovascular complaints. They have a higher level of satisfaction with life, and they live longer. For example, happy people don't commit suicide. So there is existential value of happiness. Happiness has existential value. And in the workplace, 31% increase in productivity when the workplace is a happy place. If you have a happy workplace. That's according to the Harvard Business Review. According to Gallup, there's a 51% of turnover, decrease of 51% turnover when a workplace is a happy place, and decrease in absenteeism also with increased innovations. So a happiness coach is needed for in the prevention and treatment of addiction, in prevention of suicide, in productivity enhancement, and in promoting well-being, by the fact that the happiness coach is very aware of and is knowledgeable about the mathematics of happiness. So for people who would want to learn more about this, the triplehproject.com is where you will go. Now, the final take-home point here is that, as you all know, when we are sick, when we don't feel well, we go to the doctor. When we have been wronged, we get an attorney. When we need to groom ourselves, we go to the barber shop or beauty shop. Regrettably, when we are unhappy, there's nowhere to go. There's no professional help available. That is why happiness coaching is important. That's why we train and certify happiness coaches, because we need them. We have to change our notion and have a new paradigm. We have to change the way we think and deal with everyday human unhappiness, because that's where all the problems start from. We don't have to wait until there's depression and the risk of suicide is escalating. And that is the end of this presentation, please. Any questions?
Dr. Obayuwana, thank you so much for your insight again. And was there, if I may ask you, was there a particular patient that you had that made sort of the light come on for you to say that this was also a factor in immunity, healing, and overall health, or was the experience a cumulative journey for you?
Not really, because most of it was blinded. However, the best compliment that we got from the freshmen were several, but one was thanking us for making them realize